It's Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Welcome again to another edition of Saturday Pre-Flight. That's right, your preparation for the weekend for Saturday morning cartoons, Svengoolie, Sci-Fi Saturday, and anything else you want to watch on the weekend, or get out and get some fresh air, because that's also good. Well, let's start off the night. What's coming up on this edition? We are going to delve into the world of superheroes, and we're going to look at what was the original first superhero in history. And guess what? It's not the person you think it is. And where they're from, let's put it in this perspective. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but we're going to tell you anyway. In our off-the-shelf segment, we're going to look at a Blu-ray that had long time that should have been mentioned, a Michael Crichton thriller that was way ahead of its time, and that would give you chills if you saw afterward. And it does have some premise to what's going on in today's technology. Then, of course, we'll be checking in with Svengoolie with the movie of the week. And, of course, you know, what we're getting this week is sort of a stump for all of us. And you'll get that later. And then finally, we'll get to your comments. And as always, we love your comments. We do enjoy it. We like to hear from you, and you know, commenting is one of the best things when you hear social media on there. But first, let's hit with the Fast Five. This week's Fast Five, we start off with the box office. The past weekend, we saw that Demon Slayer, that's right, folks, Demon Slayer, in its second week release in North America, has touted to be number one over its rival Mortal Kombat, who was number one the previous week, only beating Mortal Kombat by about 20 to 30,000 in the box office receipts. This is where we're seeing that a Japanese anime movie can show brightness in the box office. And hey, listen, they just added 300 more theaters to Demon Slayer here in the US. So hopefully, I know there are those out there who, like myself, who hasn't been able to see it because basically you have to drive distance to a movie theater to find it. Then we switch over to one of our favorite channels, MeTV. MeTV has just opened up a new channel in the Digi Network. If you're not familiar with the Digi Network, that's the over broadcast channels that you see. We've been having a shuffle going on. I know some people said they've lost their MeTV because of it, and some other channels have been shuffled around, moved up, moved down, or erased. But what happens now is that they're testing a new channel starting on May 15th called MeTV Plus, which it will air locally within the Chicago region, and then eventually, with its success, it'll spread out a little bit more. It will be in a different tier, digital tier, than what it's normally on. When you find on your MeTV channel, it will move to a different frequency. It'll be WCIU 226.5, which replaces Bounce TV, which is moving to the digital tier channel WCPX channel 38. It will also be carried locally there on certain cable companies like Comcast Infinity, RCN, WOW, Medcom, and Spectrum. What will it carry? It will carry a lot. It will have the standard cop shows, actions, adventures. It will have rebroadcast of the Tune In With Me at a late night spot at 11:30 p.m. It will also carry comedy classics like The Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, and Little Rascals at midnight. So it's a different variation to the local MeTV. It's something newer, something brash, something bold. We'll learn more about it as more information becomes more available to us. Moving on, let's skip over to Russia. Russia is at it again. It is banning now isekai in Russia right now. You will not be able to get Konosuba, or I got reincarnated as a slime, and many others, because they're basically, according to the Russian courts, as they're the ones who are putting this ban into play, that basically they're trying to protect children from resurrection ideas. That the isekai is promoting that, hey, you could have a better life if you die and go to another life. What happens here is just a continued censorship of all these great stories. All of these great stories that basically are fun. I mean, Konosuba is a comedy. You know, the guy gets killed a couple of times in this series. It is a funny series. And the same thing with That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It's a good story. It's a really good story. In fact, it's spinned off into another series, a smaller series, sort of like in-between storytelling line that basically things that they could not put into the main series, sort of a side stories. And who knows how much more that they're going to start to ban. I mean, they're already banning for violence, alcohol, attacks, violence. You know, they're thinking that basically anime causes suicide. Here we go again, as they say, as had happened here in the U.S. We call back to the Judas Priest days when they were in court being blamed for the suicide of two people who shotgun blasted themselves. Moving on, tonight is the last night that you can put money into Mystery Science Theater 3000. The countdown begins this evening. If it hasn't ended already, by the time you hear this, the last count we had that they were close to the $5 million mark. We know they are about over 80% guaranteed at this point. About 9 episodes. Hopefully, you know, as I predicted that they would, at the rate they were going, they were most likely hit the 9 on there. But you never know what will happen in the last hours on there. Also noting that basically Gizmodoplex will be activated very, very soon as they get their ducks all in a row. And we'll be able to see new Mystery Science Theater 3000 on a new site. Not on Netflix, not on Comedy Central, but by their own hand. Finally, Warner Brothers is looking for a black director and actor for the Superman movie that is being written by activist Tasha Coates, which we've discussed on this program before, how, you know, you're giving the reins to a person that doesn't even know how to really truly write a comic book story. As we found out through Hollywood Reporter, that they're basically wanting to look for a black director and actor, as we heard from actor Michael B. Jordan, who had addressed that he refuses to take the role because he basically does not want to color swap the character. Superman is Superman, the way he is, whether you like it or not, as far as the character itself. And I find that very insulting, that basically, as a Hispanic, that why couldn't I have been asked to direct a movie of this nature? Why is WB focusing on just a black director? Many directors can take on the role, don't matter what their color is. That, my friend, is violating law. if you don't understand it. Basically, hey, listen, it's their money, but you know you're going to piss off the unions this way. You know, there are unions that would not like this at all because you're excluding people. And you might say, well, you know, you're excluding the white. Sorry. Unfortunately, there are plenty of other people of various different colors that would be able to take the helm. And folks, that's our Fast Five for this week. Decades, generations, however you want to put it, we've had these superheroes in our life. We've had all variations, different characters, different storylines, arcs. Some started out as villains and became heroes. Others were heroes who became villains. We started out with comic books, then the animated TV series, then they became movies. Back in the early days, on certain ones, there were movie serials based on certain ones, like Superman and Batman and Captain Marvel. Actually, they call it Shazam now. Won't want to get confused with the other Captain Marvel. You had others like on radio, like The Shadow and the Green Hornet. And as the years went on, you know, as I myself, I grew up, I used to collect comics, and I used to love Tuesday, Wednesdays, which was comic day. Me and my friends, we went down to the good old comic book store back then. It was Forbidden Planet. And it was a big place for a comic book store. Most of the comics, like St. Mark's Comics, was very small, hole in a wall. But Forbidden Planet was giant in its size, and it still is pretty big to this day. It only moved down the block a bit. It's still in the same location it is, down on 14th Street Union Square. And it still serves the fandom customer to this day. In the last decade or so, we've seen a decline. Unfortunately, due to the politics, the how we put it together, the checking of boxes, the political talk, that they're trying to teach you something that is all incorrect. That they've lied to you for a long time. That, you know, basically they tell you that no, this is the first. This has always been the first. And this is not, and not knowing that there's been a long list of comic book heroes of many nationalities, of many colors, dynamics, sexualities. Not understanding. This is the, you know, people talk about certain things, and you see it on Twitter, you see it on Reddit, you see it on Facebook, and you know, my mom used to say, don't talk through your ass. And that's what a lot of people do, is they talk through their ass, not, you know, because they're not fans or anything. But there is a starting point to the superhero. And do you know what it is? You wouldn't believe it. Most people tout it. If you look it up online, and they tout that creator Lee Falk, who created the Phantom, was the first superhero in history. Are you familiar of the Phantom, aka the Ghost Who Walks, Kid Walker? If you know that very well, there's been movies, TV series based on this. I think some of the best stuff came out in the late 80s and 90s, where they did a futuristic type Phantom, which was really, I love it. It was really well done. Phantom 2046, I believe that's what it was called. But unfortunately, the Phantom is not the first superhero in history. Nothing against Lee Falk. Great superhero on that. Actually, we're going to date back a bit. And most people don't realize this. And if you're not familiar with what they call Kamishiban, which is Japanese paper theater, during the Depression era, a quick way to make a buck was to tell stories on the street to kids, sell them candy, and they would have a clapper that would bring the kids to you, and you would tell a fantastic story. One such story was a hero. A hero that is still around to this day. Because as you can see, a pack of cigarettes, that's right folks, a pack of cigarettes helped create Ugan bat. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it in Japanese, but it's Ugan bat, or as known in the West as Golden Bat. Golden Bat was one of the first superheroes in history, or the first superhero in history, and was born pretty much on the streets of Japan. It was created by Suzuki Ichiro and Teiko Nagamutsu. And it was created in 1931, several years before the Phantom, and literally several years before Superman in 38 and Batman in 39. And the main part of this is that this was created by a 16-year-old and 25-year-old. And they were inspired by mythical characters of Japanese history. And they tried to create a hero based more of science than mythology, but what they got was this great story. And they used it in a traveling show, which that's where the kamarushi, or the Japanese paper theater, comes in. And that's a great thing. If you ever hear, if your local library or if your district that has a Japanese district or anything like that that hosts a Japanese paper theater, do go see it. It's very interesting. It's so creative. You have to remember, this is before television. You know, we're at the emphasis of radio. You were able to create a story by creating drawings and sliding out those drawings, revealing the storyline as it continues from each page to each page. And it kept the kids enthralled back then. Now, Golden Bat is a character from Atlantis who was sent forward in time 10,000 years to battle evil forces threatening the day. Now, the thing about it is, depending on who you speak to, because things have been changed around, he has a gold, you know, people has the original character, say, had a golden shape skull, because obviously he's not alive. And he wears a green and white swashbuckling outfit, a hot collar red cape, carries a rapier, and lives in a fortress. And of course, he has superpowers. He's strong and vulnerable, able to fly. He has an evil counterpart known as Kuryaman Bat. His main enemy is Dr. Eric Nazo. I mean, the story has changed in the decades of the life of this character, but that was the original story of it. Now, you may say to yourself, I have never really even seen it. Well, it's been out there for quite some time, believe it or not. And there have been many countries that have taken the story and sort of pitched it in their end. So you've seen stuff in, I believe, Korea has been one, and then I think somewhere in South America, something was created close to it as well. It's had a anime adaptation many years ago, and believe it or not, it had a film adaptation. Yes, there is a film out there. Actually, there's several films, but the main film I'm talking about from Japan, of Golden Bat, it takes it to a great perspective, because Golden Bat is a dead superhero, and he rises from the grave to fight off evil. And it's fun to watch. If you see this, the laugh just kills you every time. His costume has changed throughout the years. There is one version of him that almost looks like Batman, except the color's a little different. Yeah, there was a version of it that looked like Batman. That one was called Black Star and the Golden Bat. That was a South Korean version of this character. And it didn't look like Batman. I mean, literally, it looked like Batman, but different colors. It was like blue and yellow, and the bat was red. But my favorite version has always been the Golden Bat from the movie, because it was always fun. I love that type of humor and stuff like that. I mean, his rapier was changed to a cane that emitted sort of like a laser beam, which was fun to watch on there. But there have been many incarnations of Golden Bat throughout the comic book era. For the years after the war, Golden Bat has appeared in many various comics, books, toys, commercialization. Yeah, it was commercialized, and it was pretty fun. It was a good one. The anime itself, I mean, very difficult to get, has been translated in a couple of languages. And actually, before the film that you can currently get, there was a prior, Toei had put out a prior Golden Bat movie, which is lost to history, which is called Golden Bat and the Phantom Skyscraper. That one is not available anywhere. We haven't been able to find it anywhere on that. We haven't been able to find out a lot to it, because basically there's not much left of the information in history. I mean, there's some things we found, some scraps and stuff like that, some pieces, a couple other YouTubers that have looked us up as well. And note that the animated series didn't even make it to America yet. It hasn't gotten an English dub, but a lot of people know about it. You know how we know about it? A lot of people. Well, let's take a look over at Cartoon Network at the moment. I think Cartoon Network was a bunch of fans, because if you look at some of the characters from the Steven Universe, they look like some of the characters from the Golden Bat series. Think about that for a minute. Yes, that's right. They do look like characters from Golden Bat. One of the other places that had loved this series were the Koreans. The Koreans loved it to the point where they made their own versions. I mean, you already see the Golden Batman, and they made versions of that was like real hysterical. The movies animated on there. I mean, this has lasted years, folks. When you look to the perspective of the history, Golden Bat predates manga, predates the early comic book. It's amazing what you can find out. It's amazing of the talent people had. You know, when they say, well, we're in a great time, people were very creative years ago, decades ago. Let's put it in that perspective. Because, you know, you had situations where you were going through war, depression era. You had nothing to do, but you became creative. That's the one thing that's missing today. When you look at what is being made today and stuff like that, and, you know, people have said Hollywood's creatively bankrupt because they can't create their own. They have to take the classics and destroy them because they want to make it their own. But it's not their own. They were created by other people. You have to understand, if you want to sit there and take something that was created by someone many years ago, many decades ago, and you want to change it to the point where basically you just completely crush it. I mean, if you want to update it, upgrade it, because in the 2000 era, they tried to upgrade Golden Bat to a more technological standpoint, which that's okay. It wasn't going away from it. It was tried in the 2000 era. It didn't work out well. But if you try to take apart what its original story is, you're never going to get anywhere. And I love the Sonny Chiba movie. Now, the original movie with that you're able to find and you're able to get it is with Sonny Chiba. Yes, Sonny Chiba, who played Dr. Yamato. Also, Osamu Kobayashi, who was the voice of Golden Bat. Watori Yamagawa, which is Akira, who was in this. And Hisako Tsusabuya, who played Naomi. And the main premise of the film is that it was an alien invasion, and a group of UN scientists traveled to the lost city of Atlantis, where they unearthed the mummy named Golden Bat, who was prophesied to help humans survive this terrible attack. And it was so over the top, but it was a great movie to watch. One of my friends who was in the public access business with me was the one who introduced me to this. In fact, he gave me a DVD copy of this. He had somebody he worked with the manufacturer, and he was able to give it because he worked with restoration of movies and stuff like that. He works on this, on restoration, and he gave me a copy of it, and it's been in my prized possession ever since. Unfortunately, a lot of the versions out there are not subtitled. There is a subtitled version of it available, hard to get, but you're able to find it out there if you look very carefully. It's not a long movie. It's about an hour and 13 minutes. It's almost like a couple of episodes of a TV series slapped together, but it is fun. It is one of these movies that is fun to watch. The villains are over the top. The costumes are way over the top. The action is great. The laughter of just Golden Bat alone makes it watchable. You just get that laugh, and it's like, this is how he fights his villains. And the thing is, everybody's shooting at Golden Bat. He's dead. You're not gonna get him. You're not gonna get him with these weapons. And through this whole thing, and this the main villain is a scientist, and he's always trying to shoot him to try to get him. And you figure by now a scientist would say, can't kill him. Even the theme song is so fantastic with this. It is such a hip, cool opening for it, and it makes it all really good. I mean, eventually someone's got to be smart enough to create a whole new anime series of this. They have to, or bring back the original, remaster it, and dub it. You hearing me, 2BTV? You guys have been doing that. You got Dr. Slump on already getting dubbed. Let's see if we can get Golden Bat done, because it would be fun to see this again. I mean, like I said, this predates Superman. It predates the Phantom. Predates a lot of superheroes. They always criticize, that all these superheroes are all the same color. But you don't realize is that there are superheroes out there that nobody talks about. And they're from all over the world. because people make good stories. This is what storytelling is. You make a good story and you tell it. There's no politics. There's no discussion of, hey, you know, gender swapping and this and that, and, you know, we can't have this, we can't have that. Nobody talks about this. It's good versus evil. And one thing about Golden Bat, especially in the anime series from back in the day, there were a lot of mixed episodes. There were some episodes that fought crazy monsters, machines out of science gone mad, and all that. And then there were other episodes where they went on quests. So the stories varied episode to episode, and it took you to many different places, many different themes. I mean, you saw that if you read the comic books from the 80s. A lot of the comic books in the 80s were the same way. You know, it took you to many places. It never focused on certain things, even though some of them did. And then there you had others that didn't, that basically gave you a different story all the way around. But that was storytelling. You know, you build the story and you tell it to people. You know, we have the best advantage these days, and we don't use it to its full potential. We here on YouTube and many of the social platforms, we present our shows to you. And there are many of those who are very creative. And you know, you've seen some stuff out there it's fantastic. There are people who create their own shows, whether it's animated or live action, recreations of shows that they love, movies they love. I mean, you see stuff. One of the great things out there was like Vic Mignogna's Star Trek continued series. I mean, you took Star Trek and you continued the storyline. And it was and actually they brought in some people that were either in the original TV series or their children into this, because there were a couple of the children that were basically in this series as well, playing the characters their parents played years ago. You know, and many other people that have tried to reboot other series, which I don't like the word reboot. They try to continue the story, the original story. And then there are those who are just playing around, having fun, and is able to give a story that works. And that's important. And you know, and like I said, we don't fully utilize this. We have this market. Hollywood refuses to basically bring us good entertainment. We have the chance to entertain ourselves by creating stuff that basically Hollywood would not touch with a 10-foot pole. Not that it's controversial, it's just basically they're not interested in making it. So, folks, if you get a moment, find Golden Bat. There are places you can find it. You know, you might find it on the high seas, or you might find it on a particular social media site. Do catch it. It's a fun movie. If you can find the anime, which that's the most difficult one to find, then, you know, take a watch on it. I don't know if they're subtitling to it. It's been hard to find lately. I'm hoping one day that they will release it. And do look into this. Look into the history of this. There are many YouTubers that have discussed this. I've only just given you a brief look at Golden Bat, because there are many other things that part of this history of this great superhero that I haven't even gone to discussion, that would take hours to discuss. And, you know, we could do it, but I think you want a quick synopsis, because I know what my viewer wants. And like I said, you could research it out, and we may come back with a full mini documentary on it. We could do that. So let's move on and see what's on my video shelf this week, what I just got. This week on my off my video shelf, I just found this recently again. It is a great film. It is one of the most underrated films that to come out of the 80s, especially since it was directed by Michael Crichton and written by Michael Crichton. You know Michael Crichton from Jurassic Park movie and many other films, Andromeda Strain and many others. This one is off the radar a bit. Most people don't even know it, but it kind of holds true to today for what happens in this particular movie. The movie is called Looker. Stars Albert Finney, James Coburn, Susan Day. Yes, that's Susan Day. Tim Rossovich, Dorian Haywood, and the gorgeous Terry Wells, who was Playmate of the Month on Playboy in the 80s. So, yeah, she was a looker then. Oh, boy. The main premise of the movie itself is 3 out of 4 models who had plastic surgery done by Albert Finney has been basically turned up dead. Neither the cops or Albert Finney believe that they were suicides because they were made to look like they were suicide. As our faithful doctor there, who's played by Albert Finney, investigates and hangs on to the 4th one, played by Susan Day, he finds a bigger nefarious dealings that is going on. And the reason it's called Looker, it's the whole basis of it. And you know, one thing about Michael Crichton looks ahead on a lot of his novels. You know what Andromeda Strain was, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. He deals with stuff that could affect our future in a way, things that may come. And one of the thing is this was done in 81. At that time, internet was still in it's practically wasn't really there that much, but it was there somewhat. Computers were just building up. Cable TV was becoming king. The videotapes and stuff like that was all coming through. Entertainment was becoming big. You know the old saying that your mom, if you were a child from that era, your mom says, television is going to rot your brain. It's going to turn you into a zombie. Well, in a way, that this particular movie puts out the premise of controlling someone's mind with broadcast television. Not to give too much away, but basically what it is that there's a company in this movie that are creating commercials, and they're trying to improve on it, perfect it. And they found a way of creating the perfect commercial. And what they've done was they've had the models have certain facelifts and tucks, minor details to the millimeter, so that basically they could be digitally scanned by a computer, and the computer does all the work. In other words, it creates a deep fake. You know what I'm talking about now when I say that name. Yes, that's right, deep fake. Could you imagine? Michael Crichton already called out deep fakes before the word deep fake came out. Think about that for a moment. Think about how we're able to digitalize and create VTubers, characters, animate commercials that basically you would think it's someone in a live action and it's not really, it is. How we can insert someone that has been dead for a long time. You know, how much more can we do with this technology? And when you look at the perspective of Looker, we were at a beginning point there. There is a great little segment in the disc that basically, introduction by Michael Crichton and a little bit of an explanation on the creation of Looker. And I think one of the best things that was in this movie is how these girls were being murdered, that it was made to look like suicide. There is a weapon in this movie that when fired, you sort of, you're not blinded, but you sort of mesmerized for a moment, and you lose track of time for a time period, for an hour or several hours, depending on how many times they flash you with this gun. If you see the trailer and stuff like that, which we're doing a little bit up on here, it's, like I said, it is fantastically done. The script is good. The acting is decent in this movie. The women are sexy. You're gonna find there's a ton of sexy women in this movie alone, because that's what it is, sex appeal. Sex appeal drive commercials, especially in the 80s. And when you look to perspective to use that sex appeal once again to sort of control people of how they think, what to buy, and even who to elect. Yes, there is a part of this movie that there is a character who is played by Michael Hawkins, plays Senator Robert Harrison, and he's running for president. And that kind of scares you. That kind of scares you that basically that they're able to influence people by commercials. And you say, well, commercials does influence people. No. Not the way that this movie portrays it. There's a part of the movie, and you see what happens, that there is a signal inside the commercial, similar to the gun that I just mentioned before, that sort of affects the brain, and it'll make you do whatever it says. It's sort of a mind control. In a way, it's a sort of a mind control. And it's done in a way, commercialization. That's why this is such a great film. It is available on Blu-ray for under $20. You can watch it on Amazon Prime if you wish. You can rent it for around $3-4. I haven't seen it anywhere else, as far as any of the free services. Like it's available on iTunes and Apple, straight on there. Now, a couple things you have to put to premise of it from a technical point. We're only about a year away from Tron from this movie. Looker was the first film to create 3D shading with a computer, and to create a CGI human character, which was the Cindy character played by Susan Day. Most people always tout that Tron was the first to do that, but actually it was basically Looker. Scanning and digitalization on there. There are alternative versions of this movie. There's a longer version, like there's a dinner scene that is, in fact, if you get the DVD version, the Blu-ray version, there is that scene in there that was cut out. It sort of changes the movie just a little bit, but it is, it's fantastic. You may look at yourself and look at the reviews and people say, oh, it's just an awful film. It is so awful. It's underrated. They gave it an unfair bias to the film, like one reviewer said. Because basically, one thing about Crichton, his films are ahead of his time. This one should have been one of the top ones. You look at today's technology, it makes you frightened out of your wits of what we could get to as far as technology. We already have deep fakes. You see, if you haven't done those deep fakes, kind of scary. I'll tell you honestly, from what I've heard from a couple friends of mine, there are deep fakes in the porn industry where they're using deep fake, taking actresses, Hollywood actresses, and putting them in porn segments. The legal aspects of that's got to be settled by a court. In one perspective to another. We have to put to a point where we have to be very careful with the technology that's given to us. And Crichton knew where we were going on there and where we've gotten to. I mean, the movie didn't gross much, but it was still well made, well done. Performances were good. James Coburn. I mean, to see James Coburn in this movie with Albert Finney, that was a good combo in this film. And Susan Day, her on there, and then of course a whole well of fantastic models for this movie. So that is my off the shelf this week, and like I said, you can pick that up on Blu-ray anywhere, eBay, Amazon, wherever you get your local video. Do check it out. It's fantastic. Well, let's check out what you have to say this past week. We go into your comments every week here. We try to get through everyone best we can within the time frame we can. If we've missed you, we're sorry. We will get to you eventually down the line. We start off with animation presentation. God, your channel is underrated. Thank you. Really, we've been doing this a long time, longer than YouTube itself. I tout back to our old public access days here in New York City. Some of the stuff you see today on YouTube, some of us were already doing decades earlier before the internet. And thank you for telling people that way. Hey, one way to help us pass this along, take a moment, pass it on to 3 friends. Have them 3 friends pass it on to 3 more friends. We're moving up in the subscriptions, and I thank those who subscribe. I mean, we're not that far off now. We're getting closer to 400. We're within 40. I think we're at this point. We're within 40. Getting to the 400 subscriber level. So please continue to subscribe. I mean, we're down. What is it? 87% of you that watch have not subscribed yet. So we're getting that number down. We used to be over 90. Now we're at 87. It's fantastic. Thank you again, Animation Presentation. Tom Anderson. Really glad to see the Addams Family on MeTV, but I wish they would put it in on the evening, maybe in Green Acres time slot, just for the summer to see how popular it would be between Gomer Pyle and Hogan's Heroes. Also, would be great to see F Troop return to an evening slot, but don't take away Gomer Pyle or Hogan's Heroes off. Those series are gold. Those episodes will never get tiresome. As far as the Flintstones, I'm not sad it's being pulled. I watched it as a kid in the 1960s. Didn't care for it too much. I much preferred the Jetsons when it came out. Now as an adult, I don't like it at all. And to me, it seems out of place. I really dislike the MeTV promos, mixing clips from the Flintstones in with shows like MASH, Adam 12, and Andy Griffin. Tom, I can understand it. These days, advertisement is advertisement. You got to pull in the people into what product you have. Now, as far as the Addams Family is going to do good wherever it goes. It's done well on Pluto TV. You can ask Pluto TV that because it gave it its own channel. Tried it out for a little bit. People liked it, so they kept it. Addams Family is still very, very popular. Gomer Pyle, loved Gomer Pyle. He used to be, when I used to be sick home, when I was a little kid, guess what I watched? Gomer Pyle. Hogan's Heroes, I would have to stay up late to watch it. And unfortunately, it was only on the weekends. That's when I was able to see Star Trek and Hogan's Heroes. F Troop was a weekends thing for me. I would love to see it on again. You may get to see it. Remember, MeTV has a Plus channel coming out. It could be added to that segment. Now, I understand you didn't like the Flintstones back then, and now you don't like it even worse now. And same thing with the Jetsons, that you liked it back then, but not as much now. You know, sometimes tastes change. I can understand that. But it's still classic. It's still a classic series. It has its staple in history, which it may be destroyed by one woman very soon, depending on how Warner Brothers handles the new series that they're working on, which I'm very opposed to. You know, this is where the point where I keep saying Hollywood has run out of creativity, just plain and simple. You can't make new stuff. You can't make new stuff because basically Japan pumps it out like freaking, you know, Pez, as a Pez dispenser. They keep pumping it out. They haven't run out of stuff. Gets better and better every time. Thanks again, Tom. The Wacko Man guy. So glad it's returning. Hate the FCC. Oh, you know, I always see this a lot. Some of these guys, they don't like the FCC. That's the return of the Hanna-Barbera Studios on there. It's nice that it's returning, but it may not be the Hanna-Barbera Studios you've liked in the past. And of course, your sister has to chime in. Dot Warner as hurrah for the same thing as well. Johnny Hernandez, one of our regular viewers out there, says, keep up the good work. Thank you, Johnny. We're doing our best. Dot Warner chimes in again. I'm so excited about that. Mortal Kombat, that was on our Mortal Kombat versus Jackie Chan. It might be one of the subjects I had in that part. Wacko Man Guide also puts in again, Animaniacs needs to head to MeTV. That won't happen nowhere time soon, since Hulu and Disney and Warner Brothers own pretty much a lot of the rights to it. And wouldn't be proper. Wouldn't be proper. I mean, I love the Animaniacs and all the series that came around it. But unfortunately, we're not at that level. There is a ton of cartoons waiting to be re-released back on television again. We have decades worth that hopefully we'll be able to introduce to a new generation of children that hopefully, that they'll understand it and won't criticize these cartoons like those who've been doing on Twitter and Reddit and Tumblr, that basically, oh, it's awful, it's so sexist and demeaning and all that, and it's just a cartoon. It's just a cartoon. Sam Diego. This is surprising considering that both Adam and Kevin left G4 because they were screwed over by the network. Why would they come back? Well, Sam Diego, the network people have changed. And basically there are new heads of the office these days. And I guess the money was good. Because they're already broadcasting show. If you haven't noticed yet, on YouTube, they've been doing live feeds. So they've been testing out the audience levels. I think they were playing games on certain one, and then talking about things in the show on others, on how everything's coming around, introducing the new staff, and it's coming around. It's coming around. We still haven't heard about Olivia Munn yet. We heard negotiations were. We don't know if it broke down, continuing, cleared, or been canceled yet. I mean, a lot of people out there have been talking about it, and there are some who that are not going to return, have been talking on YouTube out there. A la Midnight's Edge, who had one about 2-3 weeks ago, if you want to look that one up. Because I'll tell you, the other day I was watching episodes of the Galaxy Rangers. If you haven't seen that cartoon, it's really good. It's basic. The main story, it's mankind is moving outward for the first time with the help of an alien race that have given them the ability for space travel, and the first people out there are basically marshals, space rangers, sort of the old west, brought into the universe, fighting for what's right out there, because there are some things in the universe that want to kidnap human beings and use it for their nefarious purposes, enslave them in certain ways. So basically, it is a really, really good series. If you haven't seen it, catch it. It is out there, if you know what I mean. And finally, Johnny Hernandez, once again, MeTV is launching another sub-channel in Chicago and Arizona. Call me MeTV Plus. Yes, we did talk about that earlier in the Fast Five. Yes, that is coming in certain areas. I didn't know it was Arizona. I know definitely it was Chicago. But the DigiNet system, the new DigiNet system, it's supposed to be all over the country, the changes. And it's going to, MeTV is going to be ahead of several other classic channels that are coming forward. Like I said before, and there are those who said this is a fad, stuff like that. There are cable networks that are looking to create classic TV channels like MeTV, Antenna TV. There is another one coming down the pike. Nexstar Media Group announced that they will be creating a Rewind TV. MeTV Plus will be fully operational before Rewind TV is out there. So MeTV will get a jump on it, but still, it's it's going to be a hell of a market, because this is what they're saying. If it's not a YouTube show, it's a classic show. People know what they want to see. They want to see fresh material, even if it's older material. There is a generation of us that are younger than us, and I know those of you out there that are watching or listening that are in that age group, that you don't know what a Galaxy Ranger is. You don't know who Hogan's Heroes is, or Gomer Pyle, or Andy Griffin, or Night Stalker. These are great TV series that have been out there for a long time. One thing years ago, even though there was a board that looked at your shows and made sure you didn't say the wrong things and stuff like that, we weren't afraid of creating shows. And sometimes we did get away with certain things. Perfect example, the Richard Pryor show. You would think that a show like the comedy of Richard Pryor would not work well on broadcast television back in the 70s. But it did. Didn't last long, but it did. You had great shows like Chico and the Man. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s father, who was a great comedian at the time. It was a sad story of his ending of his life. It took away a great comedian at a young age, and a great TV show. And then you had Sanford and Son, another great TV series as well. And you had all the science fiction, Star Trek, and Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. Oh, I can go on and on and on. I can go over, Doctor Who, the Tripods, the Survivors. Did you ever get to see and I'm not talking about the one in the 2000s. I'm talking the 60s, 70s, I think 60s or 70s, it was 70s. Survivor's TV series. Kind of scary today because it was about a pandemic that wiped out practically 90% of the planet and left scattered people throughout the world. What would it be like? There's a great line in the series that do we have the knowledge to go back to the way we were? And this was at a time before the internet, before computers and stuff like that. And the gentleman was discussing that, can we make candles again? Can we weave our own clothing? Grow our own crops? Do we have the knowledge and strength to do that again? Or we've gotten too lazy in life to do this? Would it mean the end of the human race? I mean, such a great series, and and all the comedies and stuff like that from all over the world. Some great stuff. I encourage you as a viewer, and I keep saying this, get a moment to watch something that you wouldn't think of watching, something from the old days. People may say, why are you watching that? It's offensive. Hey, listen, it may be offensive to certain people because basically they don't sit and watch these things. You might not find it offensive. You might find it funny. You might find it interesting. There are some great shows. There's some great shows out there. People know the Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock and The Outer Limits, but did you ever know of The Night Stalker? A great TV series about a reporter who investigates strange happenings that turns out to be sometimes very horrific. Dealing with vampires and werewolves and cursed mummies and witches. All variations, every episode different. It was a great series done by a great actor, Darren McGavin. You know him. He played the original on there, and they sort of there was a newer series that came out decades later. They sort of computer edited him into an episode, but it was still a great series. It was a great series, the original one. It ran for many episodes. It has a mini movie. The mini movie was the vampire one, which was that's such a great series on there. I mean, that episode alone it was well done. And in fact, you could see this series Saturday night. I think it's around midnight. It's on MeTV on Sci-Fi Saturday night. But like I said, I challenge you, go out and watch something you would never think of watching. And there's plenty of places to watch classic stuff out there. There's plenty of movies, there's plenty of TV series, TV shows, specials, plenty of it out there that you, the viewer, would enjoy. And that's the thing about it. This is why classic television is doing money. It's banking. Because today, and you've seen it from the Oscars, people don't want to see crap that they're pushing these days. All the political rhetoric and stuff like that. So thank you again, all those who have commented on below. Please continue to comment. Thank you very much. And we will bring back more commenting next week. Thank you again. And now, before we leave, what is the great movie of the week? What will Svengoolie give us? Because I know this month we got some good ones. So, let's check in with MeTV and Svengoolie. It's Mayberry month. So what could it be this week?
This week on Svengoolie,
I shall come back from hell and make you pay for your crimes.
he must have bought a round-trip ticket.
Came back to life as a tree monster.
He sure did. From hell it came on the next Svengoolie. Saturday night on MeTV.
That's right, this week on Svengoolie, it came from hell, 1957, starring Todd Andrews, Tina Carver, Linda Watkins, John McNamara, Greg Palmer, Robert Swan. This is one crazy one. Wrongfully accused South Seas Prince is executed and returns as a walking tree stump. I remember this when I was a kid. Oh, this gave me some nightmares. Back in the old, if you're familiar with the WPIX Channel 11 in New York, there used to be something called Chiller Theater, which used to be this claymation of this hand that's coming out of a swamp, and the letters of Chiller would come out there, and you would grab each one of them and sink down back into the swamp. That just always gave me, of course, called Chiller Theater, gave you chills on there. But it was a frightening thing when you were a little 10-year-old kid, and it still creeps you out when you see the animation today. So that will be the movie of the week this Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on your local MeTV channel. Be sure to check locally where you can get MeTV, even though some of you may not realize that it's easily to get MeTV as the channels have changed around, the frequencies have changed because of DigiNets. You could find it in a newer place, or move the antenna a bit, or get a stronger antenna. There are people online that can help you get the channels back on local origination if you're not using cable TV. So we've come to the end